If you're a Pakistani, look upwards and pray. Only rain can save you. New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. It's match number 41 of the ICC World Cup 2023. The toss will happen in a minute from now. I've just been told before the toss happens, Angelo Matthews has already taken strike because he doesn't want to take chances. No Shakib Al Hasan around. Dinesh Karthik and Bhattacharjya in the house. New Zealand versus Sri Lanka. Different reasons for both these teams to be motivated. New Zealand, they've had a bit of a hot and cold kind of journey so far. 4 wins, 4 losses. Sri Lanka, meanwhile, once again, much like England yesterday, are looking at a Champions Trophy qualification scenario. Let's set this up for you once again with that points table. And we shall remind ourselves and all of you of why this match is so crucial for both these teams for different reasons, Joy.
Obviously, there's a very clear one here that there's basically New Zealand, Pakistan, Afghanistan are all the same amount of points. All of them have one match to go. So New Zealand is playing today, Pakistan play England, and I think Afghanistan play Australia. Or was it South Africa? So they play South Africa.
Correct.
So all of them have tough matches, but the point of it is if all three win, the odds are that New Zealand will go through because their run rate is much healthier. And with 8 matches to influence the run rate with 1 match is very difficult. So that means that New Zealand is in pole position now. If they win, even if it's a small win, they have a very, very good chance of going through. There is one more fascinating scenario, which is very interesting. Have a look at it again. If the results, there is a very good possibility. Suppose New Zealand lose today, Pakistan lose tomorrow, and Afghanistan lose against South Africa, you could have a situation where a team with 8 points with 4 wins will go through to the semi final.
And that shall be New Zealand, right?
Yeah, if all of them lose, it depends on the size of the loss. But yeah, the odds are that New Zealand will go through with this thing because their net run rate is so much better. But there is an actual chance that a team with 4 wins can actually go through.
Who would have thought?
I know.
It's been a very interesting World Cup, Joy.
Yeah.
A lot of people were talking about there's no close games and, how is the ODI format going to survive? I believe this World Cup has been very interesting.
Yeah.
It started with many teams scrambling for obviously the semi-final spot. Then 2 teams ran away at the start. Australia joined them pretty soon. And the 4th place is still in the hunt. But most importantly, the teams which have been eliminated were thrown another carrot saying, boss, if you want to be part of Champions Trophy, just, find a way to start playing some good cricket.
And that was a chance discovery. I think Shakib Al Hasan mentioned it at some press conference. And that's when everyone discovered suddenly that, hang on, there's another reason to keep winning or win.
Shakib Al Hasan has been in the news for the wrong reasons.
And he's gone home also.
And this is a good time to be part of some good news. But if he is the one who's initiated it,
It was him, yeah.
kudos to him because not many people are thinking about it, including England at that stage. The coach actually came and said, in the afternoon only somebody told me, like, I didn't have no clue about this.
Well, the news from Bangalore is that the toss has happened. So, no rain for now. New Zealand have won the toss and they have chosen to bowl first. They're chasing. They batted first against Pakistan, scored a mountain of runs, 401, I think it was. And then DRS came into the picture. Great toss to win, is it?
Outstanding toss to win. Probably the most important toss for them in this World Cup.
Yeah.
And I say that only because for 2 things. A, Chinnaswamy is a small ground, but forget that. The weather being what it is, it could be a rain curtail match, it could be a game where you're chasing something very awkward. You want to be chasing. If you're batting first, you don't know which way it's going. It can be a headache at a time like this, especially when you know the semi-finals of a World Cup is on the line. So, it is a very, very important toss to win. As happy as New Zealand is, probably Pakistan is a touch upset, but for the moment, New Zealand have something positive.
Mike Howard and Sanjay Manjrekar were at the pitch report and they said there's 80% chance of precipitation. It's one of those days where the Met department guys or girls are more important than cricket experts like yourselves.
No, absolutely. The Met Department, let me tell you, every day in most parts, in those parts of the world, the Met Department people are more important. Especially the Chinnaswamy, because even when there's no chance of rain, it comes in every once in a while. So
we've seen it at the IPL as well. We've lost matches at the IPL.
Absolutely. So I think that's the point. The point is that if there is precipitation on a pitch like this with precipitation, you have to bowl first. I mean, you have to have your options in hand. You have to look at reduced targets. And New Zealand knew what happened to them when they chased. I mean, they batted first last time. I mean, how many times do you score 400 and lose a match, even whether it's on duck with loose or not? 400 you've scored. It's not a joke.
It's 4 wins and then suddenly they went off the boil. Although, if you look at their journey so far, the cynics might say, you know what, they beat the weaker teams and they lost to the better teams.
Whether the cynics say that or not, actually, I realized that when I sat on the same show and Joyda said after 3 games that, they're playing their main teams after this. The main teams in the sense, the teams which have obviously expected to qualify. They've beaten teams which they're expected to beat, barring the first game where they annihilated England and their journey towards, a bit of a quicksand started. But it was India who started their downfall, and from then on they've had it really tough. And to give them credit, they played a brilliant first 4 games. They literally dominated all games. Were looking like the team to beat along with India at that stage. South Africa had dropped a game, not New Zealand. But things changed in week 2 for them, week 3 for them, and tremendously. And today they're just trying to fight for a place in this World Cup, a mirror image of what happened in 2019, interestingly.
Exactly. Totally, absolutely that.
They've been a big side at World Cups. I think since 2007 they've been making it through to the semi-finals as well.
Semis, finals.
Finals.
So they'd be hoping that trophy is what should naturally follow. But that sounds a bit too very, very far-fetched. But no, actually going back to that also, what's happened is, actually they've had one really bad match, South Africa, where they got smashed. I thought they competed against India, and I think, had they got 20-30 runs extra, that match would have been tight. They really had a very, very good chase against Australia. And the match against Pakistan, you score 400. I mean, their bowling was off the boil, but, it is one of those things. They scored 400. Their batting unit was intact. So they've had one really bad match. The South Africa match was the one match where they were totally off. But that again is New Zealand. There's a certain consistency. Only one match have they really just fallen off totally. You know what I mean?
Yes, so this is one spot up for grabs, and it's between New Zealand, Pakistan and Afghanistan, the 3 teams vying for that one semi-final spot that will be played against India. I think, that's the first semi-final, possibly in Mumbai if Pakistan don't qualify. Look at the New Zealand playing 11. Lockie Ferguson, as expected, has come in for Ish Sodhi. That's something that we expected, because that move of playing Ish Sodhi in that game against Pakistan clearly backfired.
It did. He was bowling, obviously, in the sense that at a time when they were going to go for hell for leather, and Fakhar Zaman really took him on and played some lovely shots. And it's bound to happen as a leg spinner, small ground, you don't get it right. He hasn't played much, his first game probably, and he went for a plenty. And the right change has been made yesterday in the same show. We said that that'll probably be the only change that's been made. And as expected, they've gone in for Lockie Ferguson, who will bring in pace. And pace has been a troublesome area for Sri Lanka over a period of time. So it's a good move. And you got to also understand, he was bowling really well till he got that injury and then had to be arrested for a couple of games. He's just coming back from a niggle, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. It's been a very decent World Cup for him, nothing great to write home about. But the average and the strike rate is something that he can be happy about. He was a much more potent force in 2019, not so much this World Cup, I would say.
DK, public memory is really short. There are so many distractions that we have in our lives. And so, once again, a bit of a revision for our viewers. Why is a pace bowler like Lockie Ferguson a better option at the Chinnaswamy, better than, say, Anish Sodhi?
For a couple of reasons. A, if you do see the matchups against Sri Lanka, it works. B, in a small ground, yes, you can use the pace, but you'd rather have a fast bowler bowling full tilt and keep a field where you can get wicket-taking options. In a ground like Bangalore, spinners have struggled over a period of time, unless the pitch has been really slow, but the pitch has been good so far. High scores have been batted and scored in this venue. So what happens, a bowler like Ish Sodhi will have very little wiggle room in these kind of matches. If he drops it a little short, if he bowls a little full, in case sometimes if he bowls a good ball, somebody tries a miss hit, has carried for 6 as well. So the number of sixes increase in these sort of grounds, especially Bangalore, because it carries a little further, and that's been an issue with spinners. You have Yuzvendra Chahal, who's come out of that neck of the woods in IPL and done phenomenally well, but there have been a few and far in between who have been that good. I think Ish Sodhi saw how tough it could be to bowl in Chinnaswamy, and also interestingly, finger spinners have had a slightly better time in Bangalore at times. Wrist spinners have found it a little hard.
And you need someone like a Lockie with big match experience. He would know what areas not to bowl to, something that Afghanistan lacked again in that match against Australia.
I mean, see, Lockie actually has done well. Lockie's problem has been injured. He's been injuries, and he's just not been there consistently. But see, that again, we've talked about what is this template of the World Cup that is happening. Between 11 and 40, have one really fast bowler who's bowling in the middle and who's going to do stuff for you, okay? And he's the guy who's going to be the enforcer, fast bowler enforcer. And some teams, the ones who have not worked, those teams have not done well. Pakistan, Harris Trough didn't work, they've really suffered. England, Mark Wood didn't work, they've really suffered. I think Lockie did well, but then Lockie again got injured. Lockie has had this problem with fitness. He's always been in and out, in and out. But if Lockie does his job well in the middle overs, that's a very crucial role for them. Because, they're missing Matt Henry, who at this point in time, they regard as one of their frontline bowlers.
Yes, he was a very key element of that New Zealand side that won the first 4 games. Missing Matt Henry has meant that Lockie Ferguson becomes even more important for New Zealand. Sri Lanka have also made one change. In comes Chameka Karunaratne for Kasun Rajita. Is it about adding a little bit more batting cushion? What else could the reason be?
A bit of both. Batting and bowling. Kasun Rajita got tapped a bit in the previous game, so you can understand why he's coming. He gives you a little bit with the ball, and also you have to understand, as a captain, what he is seeing is the likes of Angelo Matthews too well. Karunaratne is a very similar bowler, doesn't bowl 140 but 125 to 130. So he's thinking that maybe these are the kind of bowlers that are effective in the pitches that we are playing. So he's gone in for a Karunaratne who can give him a little bit with the ball and a little bit with the bat, and he's hoping that those are the kind of cricketers who can just help them cross the line. It's been a tough World Cup for Sri Lanka, hasn't it?
Yes, players going in and out. I think Lahiru Kumar has gone home. Darshan Shanaka, their first choice captain, has gone home as well. So they've had a lot of chopping and changing happening. Angelo Matthews in that controversy. It's not been a memorable World Cup for them. They've got that E next to their name, but they need that CT next to their name. What's that qualification scenario like? Remember, the Elite 8 of one-day cricket will feature in that Champions Trophy in 2025 with 7+1 Pakistan, the designated hosts. What is that Champions Trophy qualification scenario like? We've got that graphic made. Joy, all yours.
No, basically, so they have to beat New Zealand and hope that basically, the point, how do you get to Champions Trophy? You get to Champions Trophy by being in 7th place.
Yeah.
Okay, all the teams are on 2 points. So firstly, they have to get to 4 points. They have to get to 6 points. They've won 2, they're on 4 points, they need to get to 6 points. And then they hope that none of the others win it. Okay, if they lose, then they need all the others to lose, and then it will be a matter of run rate.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a point of getting to 6. If you reach 6, you're safe. And I think that is, it sums up the kind of tournament they've had, that forget about their captain going home. I mean, their entire complete board has been disbanded at this point in time. And, when you first hear about it, you think this is political and, the team has done badly, this happened. As it turns out, there's a lot of evidence, and it's really troubling because you really feel bad. Who are the people who suffer? The people who suffer, they are the players and the fans. Because the players suddenly have no support, they don't know what's happening. All the people, there's total chaos out there. Who's booking their tickets? They have all sorts of logistics issues that they're facing. And it's not easy to keep your composure together as a team. I want to make one more point. In this Sri Lankan side, I was just thinking about it. This Chameka Karunaratne also, they now know that Chameka Karunaratne was at one time, as I said, he was in KKR. He was looked on as a prospect, a serious prospect, all-rounder, can bat, can bowl. These are high-risk, high-reward players. Him, Mendes, they're high-risk, high-reward. The day they come off, they really come off. And the state they are in now, they say that, forget about consistency. If he smashes me on, gets me runs on one day, it's okay. And I think that's what they're doing. They're now gambling, saying that, under normal circumstances, we'll probably lose to New Zealand. Let's take a chance. The day Karunaratne comes off, he really comes off. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Anyway, we're going to lose.
There's also chaos outside the team. I don't know why people who are in important positions do this. Apparently, a Sri Lankan MP has gone to the parliament and has accused BCCI and India. Why look for a conspiracy theory? There isn't any. You're only adding to the team's woes by cooking up some random conspiracy theories.
So you know that in Pakistan now there are surgeons who have taken a ball and they're dissecting it and they're opening
some
it.
Nano chip or whatever.
And our young 14-year-old Dr. Hassan Raza is there, making sure that everything is there inside and checking, the chip. It's a little bit like the 2,000 rupee note supposed to have a chip as well. I think it's the same chip that was missing there. It's come into this one. So yeah.
These issues are really avoidable. You don't want your team to lose focus because there is a lot riding for Sri Lanka. I mean, imagine not qualifying for the Champions Trophy. If you're not among the top 8 teams in the world, then there's something seriously wrong with your cricket.
I don't know where to start. Sri Lanka has been one of those teams over a period of time which has really struggled post the retirements of Sangakkara and Jayawardena. They've tried everything they can, but they've never ever lived up to the expectations of the Sri Lankan fans and the cricket-loving public across the world. Sri Lanka has been a great story. They had a couple of poor World Cups in 75, 79, 83, but they really showed the world in 96 how good they can be.
No,
But post that, it's been again a story where they've, like in the 2011 World Cup, they came to the final. They've had some great results through it, won a T20 World Cup. But post the retirement of Sangakkara and Jayawardena, it's been a tough journey for them.
And you know what? And DK will agree. It's not so much the talent. The talent is still there. It's just that the moral fiber of the team that was there when Sangakkara and Jayawardena were there, they were leaders. And they were leaders not just in terms of the cricket, the way they played the game. And that attitude that they brought, that, okay, you play the game the right way, you train the right way, you stay outside the dressing room the right way, you behave the right way, that once that leadership went, that is what really dropped off. And I'll tell you, one of the easiest ways to look at how well a team is doing in white ball cricket is actually follow how many players there are in the IPL. And if you look at it, at one point in time, the start, there were about 7-8 players in the IPL. And then it sank down to about 1 or 2, right down. And now you're suddenly seeing them come back again. There is a nice core which is forming. Shanaka, there's Pathirana, there's Thikshana, there's Hasaranga. There's a little something here. Charita Asalanka is a talented batsman. So they're coming back again. But that, they've lost so much in the middle. They've lost, 5-6 good years they've lost.
The talent is very much there. I mean, you look at someone like a Pathum Nissanka. Yes, he got an absolute peach first ball against India, but he's not had a bad World Cup at all. He's been very, very good.
Outstanding Pathum Nissanka has been for Sri Lanka. The two success stories of this World Cup for Sri Lanka, maybe three, has been Pathum Nissanka, Sadira Samaravikrama and Dilshan Madhushanka. They have been outstanding in this World Cup. They needed some of the players who've been around for a long time to step up, and actually they have, in the likes of Kusal Mendis, Kusal Pereira, Charit Asalanka, Dasun Shanaka. These players haven't really stepped up, and that has been the issue. Sri Lanka genuinely has a good core of young players, but with so much happening in their association and so much turmoil and disturbances, that it's never going to be easy. And I completely agree with what Joyda just said. The first effect it has is on its players. You don't get the basic amenities and the basic things you need to have, maybe good cricket camps, a good domestic system, good players coming through, and then you move on to the other things. But at this point of time, you must say Sri Lanka is a bit of a struggling team, and it is reflected in the state of their association right now.
More on Pathum Nissanka, 4 half centuries, Joy, 330 runs at an average of 46 or 47, I think it is. Yes, there it is. These are numbers to be proud of. Clearly a man for the future.
Absolutely. And he was a steady influence up front because, none of his partners were getting runs. The Karunaratne didn't get runs. This one didn't get runs. Kushal Pereira didn't get runs. He was the one guy who was coming there and batting up in the order. Kushal Mendis started very well. He was also not getting runs. And therefore, it's basically Nissanka and Samaravikrama who's held this Sri Lankan batting together. Whatever results they've got because of these two. And if you look at it, bowling, it's an even more sharp this thing. What Madhushanka is, he's today the leading bowler of this World Cup. And if you see the results of the rest of the bowlers compared to his, it tells you that nobody else has had a World Cup at all.
Yeah.
In fact, he has got 21 wickets in the World Cup. The next highest bowler in the team with wickets is 8 wickets for Kasun Rajitya, who's not even playing today. Okay. Yeah. The third highest is Thikshana, who has 5, and the fourth highest is Angelo Matthews, who has 4 matches. Nobody other than him has managed to get wickets consistently.
And their batters therefore need to offer their bowlers some kind of cushion to sort of bowl with, and Kusal Pereira clearly an important element on that plan. Pereira played the first 5 games, failed. They brought in Dimuth Karunaratne. That didn't work. We spoke about, in the preview, we spoke about whether he could be left out for Dimuth. They haven't done that, but clearly really, really poor numbers. These 6 matches, only 98, just a 1 half century and 5 single-digit numbers.
It's been a very, very poor World Cup for Kusal Pereira. It's very obvious. They have been struggling with openers. They went to Karunaratne because Kusal Pereira got injured. And he did well in the qualifiers, but from the time Kusal Pereira has come back in, they've given the opportunity to him, but he's really struggled to get going. In this World Cup, he's been having a really torrid time, and he has an injury, the shoulder one as well. It's not helping him. you get the feeling that you won't be surprised if he calls it a day post the World Cup. It just looks like that kind of a situation for him where they need to probably move on and look at somebody new and give the young, fresh legs an opportunity.
Yes, post World Cups, especially after unsuccessful World Cups, teams tend to change personnel as well. So if we could put up that graphic which has names of the Sri Lankan players, if the squad can be brought up, maybe we can talk about key players that Sri Lanka can rebuild their white ball side around.
For sure, I think Kusal Perera comes right at the top of that. Even Karunaratne, they need to look whether they need to hold on to. But the rest of them, Kusal Mendes, Nisanka and Charit Asalanka, very good players. Dhananjay De Silva has had a very, very tough World Cup. I don't think Angelo Matthews has anything, I mean, should have much to do with the white ball posters. It's and if you look at the bowling again, it's one man there, Dilshan Madhushanka, who's been outstanding. Shamira, extremely talented. Dunit Pellalage looks a good one for the future. They have Vanindu Hasaranga. They have a decent set of 10 players. They need to find another set of 10 players, so they'll have a good core group, and with that they can work and try and do something. They need to play good amount of matches bilaterally by traveling a lot more. They play sometimes they tend to play within obviously, within countries that are probably not as good as them, and that doesn't paint the right picture. And then when they do have the time, they come to India, but India is too far ahead in the cricketing side of things, and hence it becomes really hard for them. So they need to make sure that they play enough bilaterally, and they are again one of those teams who, if they do well, will get picked for other franchisee tournaments as well.
Of the 8 matches that Sri Lanka has played, 6 have been captained by Kusal Mendes. The first 2 had Dasun Shanaka. In the first 2 matches, Mendes scored a lot of runs. But from the time he's taken over the captaincy, surely, Joy, it isn't easy to take charge in the middle of a World Cup. It's not worked.
It isn't easy. Apparently, for a while, I was told that Shanaka was still there. But I don't know whether after Angelo Matthews coming, whether he's left or not. But Shanaka is, again, a leader for them.
Yeah.
And he's played a really large part in this team's revival, because forget Asia Cup, even before that, last year's Asia Cup, if you remember, and the qualifiers. So Shanaka is a very important part of the way they operate. And, a captain's influence stretches far beyond what he does with the bat. And I think that balance has got mixed up a bit. And Mendes perhaps has a lot on his head, because when he really attacked and when he played on those first 2 matches, of course, remember, one of the matches was against South Africa, where South Africa had scored so much that he could just bat freely. He didn't have to think. If somebody scored 425 odd against you, you're going to go and whack it. What else are you going to do? And I think he's one of those players who enjoys doing that, batting freely. He's very good at that. And I think that is the thing that he's missing out here. He's taken a bit more responsibility, and maybe a bit more. So take a look at the numbers. I mean, that's something that tells you a clear, stark story. I mean, 6 matches for 90 runs, where with the top first 2 matches at 198 runs is a huge story. And I think that's the thing, that he was really, really playing carefree cricket. And right now, I think he has the weight of the world on his shoulders.
DK, is there a captaincy vacuum, a white ball captaincy vacuum in Sri Lankan cricket? If it's not worked out with Mendes, we don't know how they look at Shanaka. Where do they go? Do they look at rebuilding a side with a very young captain, which is what India did as well at one point? Is that something they can look at, or have you identified a leader in the ranks?
I'll tell you this, I've been hearing the word rebuilding and Sri Lanka in the same line for some time now. From the moment, the likes of Muralidharan, Sangakkara and Jayawardena have left, they have been saying they've been rebuilding. I mean, you rebuild at the start, yes, but at some point you have to settle down. If you just don't have a foundation to work with, this is what is going to happen. For a brief period, for about 12 to 14 months, they had Dasun Shanaka, who had done really well as a skipper. In the T20 side, he was somebody who was really taking the team to good heights. They won the Asia Cup. They looked like a team that could compete in the World Cup. But he struggled in the ODI format. There were murmurs of his name being removed from captaincy before the World Cup, but they decided against it because the World Cup was too near. And then, lo and behold, he had the injury, and Kusal Mendes has been thrust into captaincy. And I would like to think they either hold on to Kusal Mendes. We spoke about Dunit Pellalage being an able captain in the near future. But for the moment, I would just say just hold on to Mendes, because he's a very good batter. He was in great form, did well in the practice matches, but really hasn't gotten going after he's got his captaincy. I would like to think that is not the reason why he's not performed. Though it does feel like that when you look at the stats, it's painting a picture which says that Sri Lanka has really struggled under Kusal Mendes.
Joy, captaincy, leadership cannot be thrust upon someone suddenly and expect that person to do well, whether it's cricket teams or companies, organizations. companies have to look at the long run and say, all right, this is my current captain and these are 2 or 3 options that I will work on and get them to be comfortable with the responsibility of leadership.
True, but I think Shanaka, for example, is probably a better T20 player than he is a 50-over player. And I feel T20 is a format that he's more suited to. So the point is that they might, if he's performing in that, the danger is do you divide it? And that's always a danger. If you remember when Virat wanted to give up captaincy of the 50 over of the T20 format, and then you say, okay, I'll play 50 overs, I'm okay to be captain. And India said, no, you can't do that. You can't decide. We're going to have one white ball captain and maybe one red ball captain. Maybe all three, one of them will be doing. And these are decisions that are not easy to make. Australia for a long time played that when they have a very different T20 captain from their ODI captain. Yeah. And they've been doing it for a while right now. Now it works for some teams. And that's also a point that, what is he the leader of your team or is he the leader of just your white ball side? Is he the leader of your T20 side? So those are also decisions. You don't take that decision just on theory, you take that decision based on the kind of person you have. You might have somebody like a Virat Kohli who in his pomp is equally capable of doing all three. Okay? Yeah. But you might not also have it. Like Australia, for example, do not feel that Pat Cummins is a T20 captain for them. They used Aaron Finch as captain. So those are also decisions that come into play.
Lots to think about for the interim board. We don't know where Sri Lankan cricket is going. For now, though, we'll focus on Mendes and his struggles against spin. Now, his struggles against spin cannot be attributed to the responsibility of captaincy. Today he has Mitchell Santner to face, Glenn Phillips to face as well. There's a stark difference in his numbers versus spin and versus pace. What explains that?
These are one of the stats that I would like to look at and go, don't look too deep into it if you're Kusal Mendes. And I say that because he's actually a better player of spin than pace. Over a period of time, he's shown the world that he can really take on spin. The likes of Rashid and all of them have really been peppered by him. In the practice match against Afghanistan, I'll not forget, played a wonderful 100. And he came into the World Cup, got 100 again. He looked like the guy who was going to take down oppositions. But after that, we know what happened. He's not had a great World Cup since the time he's taken over as a captain. Yes, he's gotten out to spin a lot and especially playing that slog sweep. So, you have to say that just work on your shot selection a little bit if you're Mendes at the moment. But that's a shot that he plays well. I think he's putting himself a little bit under pressure when playing that shot. Instead of using it as a release shot, I would like him to use that as an option to put the bowler under pressure, not to remove his pressure. I think that there's a small fine line there that he needs to just cross and understand, which he is very good at. I wouldn't be surprised today if he gets some runs, small ground. He likes to, hit a lot more aerially. This is the kind of ground that, allows you to do that. Here is an opportunity for Kusal Mendes to turn around those stats a little bit.
Not an easy ground to bowl on for Trent Boult as well. He's not had a great World Cup by his standards, and I use the word only very responsibly, only 10 wickets. It's not too little, but I mean, for someone like a Trent Boult, it is only 10 wickets, DK.
8 matches, 10 wickets is, by his standards, not that great. He's known to pick up a couple of wickets with the new ball consistently, and you would expect him to be around the 14-15 mark. If he's had an ordinary tournament, 10 by his standards is definitely a little low. Also bowls at the death a lot these days. So, those are 2 wicket-taking areas as well. So, he's not probably been as good as he would have liked. And I'm sure he's one of those cricketers who will be the first to admit. Having said that, he's again someone who looked good the last game, found swing, troubled the batters. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him come here and do what he's done, because here's an opportunity for him as well against 2 right-handers who have had the tendency to get LBW, and he can pick up, there's one right and one left in fact. So the right-hander is a good option for him to get out. So he's been in good form. Pathum Nissanka on the other hand, Trent Boult not in good form. But this game for me is very interestingly how well Sri Lanka bat, or rather how well New Zealand have batted through the middle versus Sri Lanka's bowlers, because New Zealand have dominated the middle phase. 11 to 40, they've been probably one of the best in the tournament, and 41 to 50. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, have been one of the worst bowling units between 11 to 40. They have to pick wickets. So this feels like New Zealand's match when it comes to stats and how it stacks out. So let's wait and watch who's able to get the better of whom.
Trent Boult, 14 matches this year, a total of 20 wickets, 10 of which have come at the World Cup. He's on the verge of a World Cup milestone, 49 World Cup wickets. He needs one more for that half century. At times, milestones can work their magic, right, on a player.
I don't look. All he's thinking about is we've got to make the semi-finals.
Let's just make it work.
Got to make the semi-finals. And look, the point is also he'll be looking at that who are getting wickets, and you'll see that people like Madhushanka is getting wickets. It's not that spinners are dominating. If you see, fast bowlers are still getting wickets. So the likes of Shami are getting wickets. Shaheen Shafri is getting wickets. So it's not that the bowlers are not getting wickets. Fast bowlers are not getting wickets. They are not getting swing everywhere. That's true. But the last match, he did get a bit of swing. So, I mean, he'll be looking at that. And does it swing early in the Chinnaswamy?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Maybe he needs to bring back the joy into his bowling. We will bring back the joy factor on Cricbuzz Live. I'm always looking for these silly segues. This cricketer has played for Mumbai Railways, Rajasthan, and Joy, all yours.
Yeah, played for Mumbai Railways, Rajasthan, Bengal. He made his ODI debut with 10 members of the opposing team. That's the biggest hint, obviously. Name him.
DK.
DK knows him very well. I mean, knows him,
Sir,
definitely.
kuch to aur clue.
How many times do you make your debut with 10 members of the opposing team?
I have to think.
Eerie silence in the Cricbuzz Live studio.
Think about it. That's how you need to think about it.
And that means once we're done with our fancy lunch, we shall all get cracking. Joy knows it. He always has his collars up after this question is posed to all of you. So go get cracking, give us the answer. But before you guys go, predictions.
Exactly. That's what I was wondering.
Tukka time, sir. Tukka time.
Yesterday you were bang on.
I'm always bang on. Learning from DK.
Not at all. It's very good. I was way off the mark.
Yep. Sri Lanka batting first. Small ground.
I know, but this is one of those where they like to do very well, or they'll collapse spectacularly. So I don't know which way to go. I'll go high, 310.
Today is a very tough game, and I'm only saying that because they might not play 50 overs, they might play 37 or 38 because
Pause.
of the rain. But
think of your flight time and then make a prediction.
then I should go 50 overs and try and get it done early. So 271.
2-2-2. I like that number. In memory of David Shepherd. Right. Jump. We're done. Send us your predictions as well. Make sure you tag Joy on your Joy Factor answer. We will see you on Cricbuzz Live after this innings. But before that, one of these two gentlemen will join me on Cricbuzz Combox right after 15 overs. See you then.